Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel for what is another Doctor Who discussion video. Of course, it's Doctor Who one. They're always Doctor Who ones. Nothing will ever change. Um,
Yeah, what is it now? What have you dragged me here for
oh,
now?
yes, all Doctor Who all the time. This time, however, it is about the 60th anniversary. Before we go any further, we'll probably be discussing potentially leaked theories and leaked plots and stuff. That's potentially what could happen in 60th. We'll be talking about set pictures and set videos that have come out in the past few weeks. So naturally, if you don't want to see anything or hear anything, then leave. Just go away.
Just like the video and leave.
Yeah, that would be ideal. If you could, that would be great. But yes, we will get into some potential leaks now. The first one, I guess, is kind of the big one, is that it's going to be something called Timefall. I think one of the leaks has called it, which is going to be because of the fob watch, the memories of the Doctor's past that is locked in the fob watch that 13 Jodie threw down the TARDIS hole at the end of Flux. First of all, I guess, what do you think of that kind of name? It's very Flux-esque, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like carry on the pattern a bit, which I don't necessarily mind. I think some like classic Who seasons had subtitles and stuff like Trial of a Time Lord and Key to Time and stuff. So, it's not out of the blue. But yeah, I think as a theory, I think it makes sense. I could see that being what finishes Jodie off and would lead into like various doctors or companions or monsters, villains, etc., kind of bleeding in for like a 60th celebration. Conveniently remaining in the most popular Doctor. How about that? Yep. But it's an explanation, I guess. And we'll see exactly how it unfolds and what's not. But I do think in regards to like kickstarting the 60th plotline, if this is what it is, I actually think it kind of makes sense, and I could very much see that happening.
Yeah, it does make sense that this big thing that was being like, oh, I'll come back for you unless I want you, is going to be the thing that kicks it off. Also it effectively wipes the slate clean in terms of what you can and can't bring in and take out, which is a useful plot device to have when you're a new showrunner coming in to run it and you've got a 60th anniversary to plan. And that sort of leads into David Tennant perhaps not playing the 10th Doctor, or at least a version of the 10th Doctor that we've seen before. It's been kind of, because they didn't confirm that he was the 10th Doctor when they came back. He just said he's back, back playing. Either he might not have even said the Doctor, they just might have said have returned to the show, which will be interesting. I think we've discussed, it's been a theory for a while that he's going to be playing the 14th Doctor. I don't think they'll say the 14th Doctor. I think it'll be very much like a fugitive Doctor, war Doctor type thing.
Yeah, I think he'll have like a name rather than a number assigned to him, I imagine. He'll be like the Timefall Doctor.
Yes, like and that will be interesting to see how he plays it differently from set videos. There's not been too much that we can say is different. So
in terms of like how he's been saying his lines and stuff in the dialogue, it's the same. But I also, with like his costume and stuff, they've kept it the same but also very different. So I don't think they'd want to give away anything straight away by having David Tennant having a completely different outfit. It'd probably be a bit more obvious, like, oh, so he's not 10, he's going to be something else. So we'll see how they kind of handle it, and maybe he goes to little character progressions. The rumored 3 specials go on and on. Maybe he does something a bit different with it later on. Maybe he is just the 10 personality in a slightly different body, and other things have changed. Maybe they're going to CG him in post to be green skinned or something. We don't know.
Could you imagine? No, I think
people would be furious.
The most likely thing, I guess, is that it sort of the theory sort of implies that the Doctor's going back through their lives to some extent,
and with Donna's presence as well. It'd be very weird to bring her back, and then, but it's not the same kind of 10 personality and stuff. Like, this is a popular pairing, let's bring it back, but one of them's got a completely different personality now. It probably would be a weird choice.
And I think I think that's fine. I think it's, if you're going to have the Doctor's return, have them come back as their own personalities, rather than that. Whether
you don't want to rob them.
It could be that this is just the Doctor, because we don't know. They could do a whole thing where the personalities are always inside their head and are aware of what they're going on, and then it's just they're taking over the body at a time. Yeah, something like that, which would be interesting. But as you sort of mentioned, there is the rumor that this will be 3 episodes rather than a one-off 60th. That's sort of been hinted at with some of the slates we've seen on set, which have sort of implied that there's at least 3 episodes. And the first one, again, a theory that's been around is that the first one will be Christmas or New Year this year. The next one will be Easter, and then the final one, which will probably be the big 60th celebration, will be in November next year. What do you think of that? Do you think there's going to be 3, less than 3, more than 3? Is it going to be this year that we're going to get it?
I think it will be the 3, because everything that's kind of been leaked about it seems to have been true thus far, in terms of like who's going to be in it and what villains are going to be in it and stuff. So I'd be very surprised if that's not the case. So I think it will be at least 3. I could see one of them being like Christmas this year, but I think the other 2 will probably be next year. Like really build up the hype to the anniversary itself. It would be odd to have like 2 and then just now you wait 11 months for the 3rd one. So I imagine they've all spaced them out a bit. So I could see like the second one being Easter and stuff. I have to wait and see. From like the the clapper boards and stuff we've seen, it seems they haven't filmed any of the second one yet. That's going to be the last one they film. They're filming 3 at the moment. So I guess if we see like Easter stuff in any set pics from that come out with that probably solves that. So we shall see. It's going to be a time will tell thing, but I could easily see it being the 3. It's the magic number, as often say, but it's also a crowd. So there's conflicting opinions on 3, I guess. But it's my favorite number, so I'd like it to be the case. So yeah, we'll see. But I do think it's going to be 3. I think those kind of rumored release dates, or thereabouts, I think would be, it makes sense, especially because if the first one is going to be like Christmassy themed, it's not going to be next Christmas, because then that's past the anniversary anyway. So I think it would have to be this year, and there's plenty of time for it to be this year. Given there's another 6 months before it would air, if that's going to be the case. So yeah, I think there's probably some validity to all of that going around.
Yeah, I think part of me would like it to be Christmas this year, or the first one at least, but part of me also thinks that maybe they'll put it New Year's Day so they can say it's all of them were in 2023.
I could also see that, yeah,
rather than one in 2022. But I think we'll only find that out once the centenary special, Jodie's last one's happened. I think at that point there'll be a title card that'll say Doctor Who will return Christmas 2022 or Christmas New Year 23 or something like that.
And to be selfish, in terms of reaction to it, New Year's Day is so much easier. So just stick to that.
Yes, yeah, definitely, because Christmas Day is an absolutely hectic time. But the other thing that's sort of come up is that there could be some other previous Doctors returning. There's been also just all sorts of suggestions that some classic Doctors could return. Also, there's been plenty of speculation that Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi could be wandering around London filming some Doctor Who now. Both have been spotted with their classic Doctor Who looks, I guess you could say. Matt Smith's only ever really shaved his head once. I think that was for Terminator, and then he's not really done it again. So
yeah, that was for Lost River. He did that.
There you go. So although he has long hair, could just mean that that's just his normal hair.
He does tend to just have long hair.
Yes.
I think it is shorter than it has been recently, so you never know. Yeah, but it's still quite long. I still think it's still quite long for 11. If you ask me.
Well, they'll CGI it in post.
Although sometimes, like when I was an extra on a film, you turn up and they cut your hair on the day, so that could also happen. If he hasn't filmed anything yet.
Shit. Sorry.
You've done a terrible job here.
Yeah. And then the other thing, which was very, very fleeting, is somebody claimed there was a man running about in a tweed jacket on set for filming.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's not him.
It's not him. It could be a stunt double. Unlikely. They might just be throwing shit in there just because they want to psych people out and make people excited for what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just Doctor Who fandom at its best / worst, really.
Yeah.
No one else ever wears tweed ever.
No,
so that must be the case.
Yeah.
People in London famously never wear suits of any kind.
Definitely not.
Definitely no businessman running around London. No way.
So what, obviously aside from Matt Smith, because we all know he's your favourite and that you want him to return, what classic Doctors would you want to see come back for this? Obviously with it being a 60th anniversary, bearing in mind that quite a few of the classic Who Doctors are either dead or do not look like they used to.
How dare you?
I'm not wrong, but
No, you're not wrong. It's tough, especially because of centenary rumors as well. Maybe also having some past Doctors. They may not show up in these three then, which would make sense. But yeah, it's a lose-lose situation. You know, anyone you don't bring, if you know you're going to criticize them for not bringing William Hartnell back from the dead. You know,
wow, they've got no excuse now that David Bradley plays him. So
that's true, actually. You're not wrong. But I remember Day the Doctor getting criticisms for like, how did they not use these actors? Like, do you know how expensive it would be to like reanimate those guys? And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to do any of the classic Doctors, probably with the exception of McGann, any sort of justice in live action now, just as they are. It's kind of the simple fact of it. And you don't want to like ruin the imagery of them or, you know, like, well, they're back, but they have to just sit on chairs for the entire thing, like William Hartnell and the Three Doctors had to do because he was so ill. So, you know, there's that, but also like a fleeting cameo. So I really like how the classic Doctors are used in Day of the Doctor, and because they can just use footage of them, you know, they're still kind of getting a little nod to them. But yeah, it's tough. It's going to completely depend on how they do it. Like, it depends what comments they like make. Like, are they going to be like noting that? I mean, David still looks very good for his age, because 50 is not old. But you know, are they going to mention like, you know, the hairline's a bit different now? Are they going to make a comment on that? Like,
I mean, they did that in Time Crash with
exactly.
David.
So they could easily
2006,
exactly. So they could easily do something like that. And if that's the case, they could just have a laugh and be like, well, here's Colin Baker, you know, look at this. That sounded really harsh. Look at him, not look at this.
Look at this.
Look at this. This Colin Baker's incredibly awesome. So, sorry, Colin. The Sixth Doctor is very good. So yeah, it's going to completely depend on how they do it. I wouldn't be absolutely against it by any stretch of the imagination. It would be fun to see them turn up, especially 5, because I really like 5. So I'd love to see Peter Davison kind of come to the fray and, you know, share the screen with David Tennant again would be quite fun. Because last time they did it, you know, he had yet to marry his own daughter and give him a grandchild and stuff. So that could be fun. But yeah, it entirely depends on what the story has going for it. And, you know, it might just be we have Tennant back and it's going to be like we could bring back all these old villains that haven't been around for ages, or some other old companions turning up. You know, it's another rumor like regarding Mel and stuff. So who knows? Maybe that's going to be what they rely on. And I think it will become even clearer once we've seen the centenary and see whether or not rumors about that are true as to who is or isn't going to show up in the specials. It would be very bizarre to have especially 3 whole house specials and only have the one Doctor back. So I would very much doubt it's just going to be David. Well, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not against it. It's just going to be very much how it's done.
Yeah.
It can be done. Yeah. But we'll see. Either way, people will find something to moan about. So
yeah, obviously. I think they've kind of got no excuse for not bringing back the first Doctor. Now they've cast sort of David Bradley, who can play the role pretty well, and we have seen him play that fairly recently. What, 3-4 years ago now?
3-4 weeks ago for us.
Oh yeah, that's true. But yeah, so he can play him well. So I'd be surprised if they don't rope him into it. I'd also be surprised if they don't bring Paul McGann in, because there's been such a clamour to see more of him since the Night of the Doctor special from the 50th. It's a no-brainer to sort of get him involved in some form. So we'll see if that happens. Also, there's always the rumour that Sean Pertwee will reprise his dad's role. Who knows? Obviously, he's infamously said years ago that he wouldn't do it, but money talks, and he could have changed his mind. You know, that was a while ago. As for the other ones, you could bring Tom Baker back still as the curator, but I don't think he's necessarily in a...
That could be a way of getting the other guys back, because Colin Baker is now playing the curator for Big Finish. So yeah, exactly. That could be a way of doing it.
And you could always argue that the Time 4 thing that's happening has led to slight changes in how they remember and how they look. So who knows? The only person I think we can probably safely say will not return is Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor.
I think that's a guarantee. Yeah,
I think he would. If he does come back, I will be shocked.
That was the most shocking thing they could do is bring Christopher Eccleston back, like properly back.
Yeah, I mean,
so if he said no to the 50th, I can't see him saying yes to this. With the production team behind it and everything. No. Like, it's not just Russell back; it's the whole production team that he completely fell out with. Yeah. So
I mean, since the 50th, he has come back to the show in terms of the Big Finish, and he started like conventions stuff,
and
so
yeah. But he also hates multi-Doctor stories and said he'd never do one because it's a cash grab.
So you never know.
He said, if you want me back, it'd have to just be me. Yeah. So there seems like he's open to it. If he got his own like little Night of the Doctor-esque thing,
maybe,
and it wasn't Russell T Davies and that production team, maybe. But I can't see that happening. No,
but he did, for his interview with Big Finish, he was like, "I came back for the money." So so who knows?
He's very blunt about
at him,
Yeah,
that's fair. In terms of villains for the 60th, two.
Oh boy.
Two spring to mind. The first one is a big bunny rabbit called Beep the Meep.
Oh my god!
Again, I don't know too much.
Not at the top of my list.
No.
I'm not an expert in Beep.
From what I've seen, it's a character, a villain from the comics in like the 80s.
Yes.
A fourth Doctor villain, I think. Judging from the covers I've seen, we've not seen him interact with any Doctor yet. Kinda, we know him and David were on the sort of same set, and maybe they were in a taxi together.
Yeah.
So who knows what will happen with that? But yeah, this is basically a big bunny that looks cute but is actually super evil. Effectively, the putting with fur. What do you think about that villain? I don't think it's gonna. I reckon this will be a cold open. The Doctor has to deal with Beep the Meep, and then we'll get into the actual threat. I think that's how
I so hope it's a throwaway thing. It literally says meep meep. It says meep meep. That's how it speaks. Because there are rumors like that's the main villain of the first special if we are getting the 3. Maybe if it's you sparing me, I don't know. Maybe he has minions and stuff because it does tie into those big green insect boys that we've seen on set because they like hunting him down or something in the comics. So maybe it's some kind of adaptation of one of the comic book storylines, kind of like Dalek was in series 1. So maybe it's something similar to that. I could see. I can't say I'm particularly excited to see Beep the Meep, but I don't know much about it. So for all I know, it's going to be a super effective, chilling villain. For what we've seen, I don't think so. But, it's just crazy enough to maybe work, but it's also could easily break that special entirely for me. So it's going to be a wait and see moment. I can't say for sure that's an absolute disaster. What are they doing? Because I haven't seen any media in whatever form that Beat the Meep's in. But deep cut, and it is kind of exciting that they're delving into the comics to bring things into the show now. For the 60th, maybe it's a strange choice. Like, let's celebrate the show by bringing in this obscure character from the comics in the 80s. But if Russell likes him, why not? They brought the Zygons into the 50s because David Tennant liked them. So maybe it's a similar kind of deal here. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep. And I mean, it has the potential to be Slitheen levels of excellent, or it could be Absorbaloff levels of terrible. Both Russell episodes, so who knows?
I think it will entirely depend on its screen time, I think, whether it's going to be praised or must perish. So.
Yeah, naturally, all we've seen is sort of grainy footage of him. So
we haven't seen any official looks
much better than what we see. So
yeah.
Who knows? And then
it's quite the choice. I will applaud the absolute Chad energy to be like, my first episode back, here's a bunny rabbit.
He's a bunny rabbit. He's an evil bunny rabbit. But it opens the door to more animal friends of the Doctor's joining.
Yeah,
Russell should come back.
Russell loves his animal themed monsters. So
we will see for sure. Hopefully it's good. But it might not even make the cut. They might watch it and go, it's not worth it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And then the sort of other villain, the sort of more high profile one that has been sort of definitely seen filming, not necessarily confirmed, is the Toymaker, who is the rumoured character of Neil Patrick Harris. So this is, again, a character that hasn't appeared since, I think it was 63 66, 1966. I think it was where I
Must be something like that.
I saw it.
Definitely in the first
Doctor's
3
run.
years of Who, because it was William Hartnell.
66 then. Yeah, and this is one that you can't see anymore. This is one that did a swear, a big swear that is no longer allowed anymore during a nursery rhyme. So there's been a little bit of a backlash towards potentially that, but the fact that our episode no longer exists means they can just go, oh no, we're wiping that character completely out of canon now. This is the new one, which I think is fair. Not much is known. Obviously, all we know is they can sort of alter reality. They play games with characters. They do all sorts of weird stuff. We've seen, if it is Neil Patrick Harris, we've seen them filming in Bristol recently, causing havoc, as you sort of alluded to in a message to me. You know, it's a Kingsman-esque fighting each other scene. Maybe he's making them all fight each other. He does a little dance with the Doctor as well. Could be musical, because we know Neil Patrick Harris does have a musical background.
He's going to sing the Suit song from
I would love it.
That's what that whole sequence is.
I generally, if there is a musical element to this, I think I would love it. I think Doctor Who.
Maybe he sings that, and he's the one who gives Tennant his new costume, and he's like putting the outfit together as he sings about suits.
Maybe.
Then he's like, I'm actually evil, and that fabric's alive, and you're being strangled by it right now.
Oh, we've had living fabric before, and it didn't do very well. I don't think we'll go there again.
But yeah, they mentioned the Timeless Child, that famously well-received plotline that everyone loves, and it's not divisive at all.
No, and won't come back again at all.
No wonder they called it The Division, I suppose.
Yeah, but yeah, I think if there is a musical element to this character and episode, I think that would be great. Doctor Who is yet to do a musical sort of style.
Just
which
imagine
could be one of them.
Oh, this big comeback, we get a giant rabbit in a musical
episode. I would love it.
Good God.
I would love it. But yeah,
bring Tallulah back.
No.
You've had a song in Doctor Who before. There you go.
Yeah, we've stopped with original music in Doctor Who since Russell left. Time for it to come back, I say. Yeah, I think from what we've seen of him and Neil Patrick Harris in the role, I think it looks great. I think it's really intriguing. From what Russell and Neil have said sort of on social media, it sounds to me like they're planning something nice and big. And I just think it has all the potential to be a really good villain and a really good character.
I'm really looking forward to this one.
From what I've seen, it also looks like they're pulling it together really well. Obviously everything can go wrong. But you know, what do you think of Neil Patrick Harris's role and what we've seen so far from set video and set pics?
Yeah, from what we've seen, I think it looks quite good. I am very much excited for this one. You know, I think they'd be doing well to get me more excited for a villain in a special. I don't know what they could announce now, and like something returning that's I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it is an intriguing prospect to bring the Celestial Toymaker back, if he is the Celestial Toymaker.
Could be the Master, could be a future Doctor, could be an evil Doctor.
It could literally be anything.
Yeah.
And we're talking.
Could be Frobisher. He's got the little penguin suit on.
You never know. Maybe he is a penguin under there. Who knows? Just Neil's like saying all this dialogue on set, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what he's saying. The final edit is just penguin noises coming out of his mouth. That's all he's doing.
He's just doing penguin noises.
Or he's also playing Beep the Meep in like a human disguise.
I mean, it could be.
Meep Meep. Yeah. That's what he whispers when they're dancing.
No.
Oh Christ. But yeah, I am very excited to see exactly what's going on with that. You know, they tease it as like, I mean, you know, you hear it a lot, but the greatest threat or the greatest villain the Doctor's ever faced.
We saw that with Flux, and that obviously didn't hit.
We'll see exactly how that all pans out, and you know what his plan is. It does seem like he's going to be the baddie and he's evil based on what they've been saying on social media and stuff. So at least we know that much. But exactly how he, you know, goes into the plot, and seems he's going to be in episode 3 at least, but maybe he could be like an overarching villain of the specials, or maybe it's going to be, you know, each special's quite separate. You know, we're not going to know that probably until they air exactly how it all ties together. But yeah, I am very, very excited for that. I think of everything we've seen thus far from set pictures and stuff, that's what I'm most excited to actually see the final version of. Yeah,
that's fair. And sort of linked to that, I guess, is sort of how Donna fits into everything.
Yes.
Allegedly, this leak from Reddit, so it could be correct, it could be wrong. But she was having some kind of meta crisis therapy or something of that ilk with Kate Stewart and what I'll assume is Unit, and a character called Mel, which obviously could be previous companion Mel or reference to Melody Pond, River Song. Unlikely to be that second one, I think. But you never know. What do you think about this Donna coming back in this way? I think for me, it makes kind of sense that they've sort of found a way. They could have been working on this for 13 years in canon, and they could have, it could have been figured out. They could have done something. There's always a way for them to be like, oh, we've solved it with science, because naturally it's sci-fi. But is this better than just being, oh, she's fixed? What do you think?
I just wish it had been past Donna, personally. I don't like undoing that. I didn't like it in the time where it's like, but I had this backup thing, so she was fine anyway if she found out, which was already at the time, and that was only been a year later. So, at least it has been a decent amount of time. It depends how they, I guess, explore it, especially if this isn't exactly her doctor per se anyway. It's going to be weird to see how that all fits in. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's going to be a wait and see. I'm not thrilled at the prospect of that being undone. So I think that just lessens the impact Series 4 has for me.
Yeah.
But, maybe they're going to do some really, really good stuff with it. It's going to be one of those things. But part of me also wishes just wish it was like 10 Donna from their prime. It's not like a big TV show airing on Disney Plus at the minute just brought back some actors in flashbacks, but they basically look like their present day selves, and it was still quite cool. So it's a wait and see moment. I wish that's not going to be the way it's going, but based on everything we've seen, it definitely is Donna of the present day, and probably fine. I guess tying it into someone like Mel, if it's going to be Bonnie Langford, which is a choice for a companion to bring back, I guess that adds a bit more credibility to it and stuff. We'll see. It's going to be I just want to see how it plays out. But yeah, I'm not as excited about that aspect of them coming back rather than anything else. So we'll see.
I think they could play it, because obviously in other set footage we've seen is that Sylvia and Donna's daughter Rose sort of don't want her to go. So I think there'll be an element of this. Yeah. This isn't a complete thing. There's always a chance she could relapse and die because of this. So it's a case of you can remember it, but you can't go too far, else it will impact you. I think there'll still be that risk. And if they wanted to have the big impact, they could have it as Donna does die at the end of this, but she was willing to go on these final adventures because that's what she always wanted, kind of thing. I think there's an element of that. I think if they just say, oh no, you definitely can't do it again now, don't do it now, I think we'll be a bit like, oh, that's a bit unnecessary. So I think it's either going to end with her dying or her being fine again, I think. And obviously if she dies, that could set up future things. Maybe this Rose has now a grudge against the Doctor and wants to track them down and kill them because of what they did to her mum. Who knows? I think there's all kinds of possibilities. I'm sure we'll play into it. I'm sure it won't be a drop thread that just goes, oh, it's fixed, and then never brought up again. Hopefully. There's that chance. Part of me will probably be happy if they just go, it's done, and then just leave, because I think then it stops people complaining and arguing. But
yeah, it's weird, because I want these specials to be like, okay, that's it for the references to the last Russell era now. Especially like there are some people, when that airs, they weren't even born and they're going to be watching this Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing to revisit at that point if that's what they're going to do. But I feel like this is just like a last hurrah for all these things, and when Shooty comes in, it's going to be a completely different kettle of fish, all new characters and stuff. So that's my hope. Obviously, that might not be what happens, but it is what it is. I'm not in charge, so he can do whatever the fuck he likes, basically. So yeah, that is very much the wait and see situation for me. I wish it wasn't going the way it seems to be going, but I'm willing to be surprised.
Yeah, seems like we've ended on a pretty down note there.
But Neil Patrick Harris,
yay! But yeah, that will sort of do it for our sort of theories and potentially spoilers today. As always, there's always news coming out. There's always new set photos and pictures surfacing eventually. So I'm sure we'll be back in the near future to discuss more. And we'll also be back to discuss more about the centenary whenever that gets more footage, gets announced, gets the date, gets the title, which hopefully will be soon. Please be soon.
Yeah, the rumor is October 14th, I think, or 16th.
Okay, that'll be interesting
because that's the week of the BBC's 100th birthday.
Right.
So
yeah, that would make sense. And Russell has said it's in October, I think, previously.
Something like that.
So
it could be less than 4 months away, just still a while.
Yes. No, we'll and there's a couple of Comic Cons in between now and then where they could do some kind of
reveal. I think we need at least something in the next month or so. I think, especially after all this set stuff. I think it would be good to at least give us a title or something at Comic Con. Would be great. But who knows? Because Comic Con, they had their panel for Flux last year, and then 4 days later they're like, "Oh, Jodie's leaving, by the way." So we might get something 4 days after Comic Con. Who knows? That's
true. Well, we will keep an eye out, and always we'll be back with more news and theories in the future, and also all the episode reviews and all that jazz. I think that'll do it for us today. So we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.